Aloha! Welcome, everyone. Another video here from your paranormal guy. And I know it's been a while. So, it's like I was saying before. I have had some ghostly experiences in the past couple of months. So, that's why I was making the videos that I'm making. I'm hoping that the other video I made actually came through. When I check my page and see if it went through, then I'll know. But if not, I'll make another one of the same information. Okay, this video is about the same thing as before. I have really been getting into and becoming obsessed with this information dealing with national park disappearances. It's very spooky stuff. It's creepy. It seems to be a pattern with the kind of people that are disappearing. A lot of them are scholars, some are professors, very intelligent people, scientists, teachers, you name it. There's a lot of, very intelligent people being taken. There's one thing I have been thinking about too when it comes to these people disappearing. All these people that are vanishing, whatever is taking them, I'm just thinking that maybe they have a stake in whatever it is that whatever this is that's taking it. They may have a stake in whatever it is that they're doing, and they're becoming a part of it. If they're scientists, they may be helping them in some sort of project they're doing. They're taking people that shoot photography, people who are very knowledgeable of the areas that they are taken from. Like people may be really good at hiking, so they may know a lot about nature and all that stuff. Okay. But they also have the ones about the little kids that are taken there between the ages of 2 and 14, 2, 5, and 14. The first case that I talked about was about Stacey Harris. This was like back in the early 80s. Then there was a little Yahuti Pryor. Then Dior Coons from Idaho. That big story that came out back in July. How he just vanished in the thin air and no one can seem to find out why or how. He didn't drown in the lake, because that's always the first. A lot of these disappearances and people being turned up dead always seem to happen around water too. That's another thing. It happens all the time. I don't know why, but it does. There seems to be a pattern in where they're being found, and there's also a pattern on how they're being found. Like the part where their clothes are removed and they're just in their underwear. Sometimes their pants are unbuckled and they're all the way down to their ankles. Okay. Now just imagine if you standing somewhere and all of a sudden you melt into your pants. That's the way most of these findings look. Or sometimes the person could be lying on top of a log, dead with no reason for dying, and their clothes may be 15, maybe 20 feet away from where they were found. Okay, and we're talking about they're being found miles and miles and miles away, hundreds of miles away, and nobody can figure out how they ended up there. There's a story going back. A little boy, can't remember his name. His mother was an exotic dancer. It got to the point where she couldn't raise him. She gave him up to his grandparents. They raised him. But something happened. He had a pretty crazy life. He was ran over by his grandparents, his grandfather. When the state found out about it, they took him away and gave him to his next of kin, his aunt and his uncle. Okay, now she was different. She was very adamant about making sure that he had everything he needed and make sure he was protected. So, excuse me, sorry about that. I just ate. But anyway, she put an alarm on the house and she made sure all the windows were locked whenever they was at home, or make sure the doors were locked so he couldn't get out. But he was pretty young. He was probably like maybe 4 or 5 years old. And we know how kids love to wander. He would one day they was in the house. Father was at work. He was having fun with a little puppy there. She had 2 puppies. Maybe it probably was just little dogs. Maybe, I'm not sure. But anyway, he was playing with one of the dogs on the floor. She was watching him at that point and decided to take a nap since he was right there. Doors were locked, windows were down and locked, alarm was on the house. She goes to sleep. About maybe 30 minutes later, she's awakened by her phone ringing. It was her husband. He was calling to make sure everybody was all right. How you doing? What's going on? Yada, yada, yada. And then that's when she noticed that he wasn't on the floor with the dog like he was when she left him before she took her nap. So she gets up and she starts looking around the house, calling out his name in all the rooms. The bathroom, I don't know if they had a basement or not, but she went all over the house. Couldn't find him. And think about it. The doors were locked, windows were down and locked, and the alarm was on the house. Now if you open up that door, when the alarm is still on, you're going to hear that elongated beep. And then after like maybe 20 seconds, you're going to hear beep, beep, beep. It's going to be all over the place, right? It's going to be loud. That didn't happen. He just vanished in the house with her right there. Okay? Now, she also noticed that the dogs were gone. I think one of the dogs was inside. The other dog was outside. None of them was there. A couple of days later, the dog comes walking back. He was like, what? No kid with the dog. Weird. What was really interesting was the dog was clean and he didn't seem to be harmed or anything. He was fed. How they determine that, I don't know. I guess when he tried to feed him, he wouldn't eat. I guess I don't know. But then they realized, okay, he's not with that child. And I think a couple of hours, maybe a couple of days later, the other dog comes back. Same thing. Fully fed. He wasn't dirty. He wasn't wet. So wherever he was, they were being kept for a long time. They never found the little boy. He was just gone. Okay. There's also a story going all the way back. This was like 1700s. 3 crazy stories. One was of a guy in period clothing, like cowboy style. He's going to a general store to buy a Constitution. I don't know what that is. I guess that's a drink, maybe a couple of, maybe some food. I guess I don't know. But he goes into the general store, buys what he needs to buy, and he leaves. Somewhere between when he walks out of the general store before he gets home, he vanished. It was almost like he just walked into an invisible door and he was just gone. Let's fast forward Back to the Future style. 1975, maybe 1980. He just appears out of nowhere in the middle of a busy street and gets slammed into by a car or a bus or a truck, maybe. I'm not sure. He was dead. Got taken to the coroner's office. They search his belongings and finds that receipt. And they looked at the date. Think about it. He just disappeared in like 1785. He ends up in like 1975 or 85. Weird, huh? Another mysterious disappearance. And of course, I think they looked it up in the archives and realized that a man who fit his description disappeared from sight. Nobody knew what happened to him. He was just gone. And they never found him. And they here he is right here in present day. Same clothing, but he dies. And he never gets a chance to explain himself. That was it. Okay, another story about a man had a family, a wife and 2 kids. He owned a farm, I guess. He leaves the house. He goes into the field to take care of some business, and then right at that point, he's walking into the field. His brother-in-law and the mayor rode up in a carriage, powered by horsepower. They walk up. All of them see him as he's walking into the field, and all of a sudden, poof, he just walks into oblivion. He vanishes into thin air. They run out there. They try to look around and see what happened. Maybe he fell out and passed out or something like that. They couldn't find him. Nowhere. A couple of days later, still couldn't find him. They was constantly searching for him. After that, they came to grips that he wasn't coming back. They couldn't find him. They saw what happened, and that was just it. There's nothing they could do. A couple months go by, little kids is playing in the field. I guess they got over the fact that he was gone. All of a sudden, they hear a voice come out of nowhere saying, help me, please help me. And then after all that, he disappeared. The voice dissipates in the distance. And that was it. They never saw him again. So, crazy? Yes. Disappeared in a weird way? Oh yeah. You never can figure out these things. Like I said, this stuff's been happening for hundreds of years, and no one could ever figure out why. There was a story about a woman in France. Same thing, except this was the national park. This was the park disappearances. She was, very good. She was very, she liked nature and all that stuff. She was in the woods and everything, enjoying the scenery and all that stuff. All of a sudden, this black hand comes out of nowhere and grabs her by the chest. It's a huge hand. It's about like that big around, but it's covered her whole chest area. He grabs her, pulls her into a thorn bush. She's screaming like crazy. All of a sudden, she hears this voice above her saying, well, here you go, like as if she's being passed off to someone. Who? I don't know. She couldn't see whatever it was except for that big old black hand. And I ain't talking about this kind of black. I'm talking about pitch black, like shadowy black. But anyway, she starts screaming some more. Whatever this thing was, let her go. She starts running towards this nearby farm. The guy examines her. From what he said in the interview, that it looked like a big red mark in the shape of a hand that wrapped around her entire chest. That's all I heard about that. That was it. But anyway, I want to reiterate about the information dealing with the missing 411 books. It's you go to his website. It's called CanAmMissing.com. I left that part out. I couldn't remember the other part, but I'm telling you now, it's CanAm. That's CAN, like Canada, am as in America or American, Canadian American. Missing.com. That's CAN. That's C like Kathy or car. C like car. A like Alpha. N like Nancy. C like Captain. A like Alpha. M like Marco. Missing.com. Go there, check out the books, order them. You're gonna love them. I'm gonna get some myself. I can guarantee you that. But yeah, this is some weird stuff. And like I said before, hopefully something is gonna come of this. I don't know when it's gonna happen. I don't know where. Someone made a comment on David Pallady's Facebook page, and he said that the only thing that's gonna happen is if there's gonna have to be a disclosure from the government, because these are federally owned parks. So that means the government. That means they're going to keep things under wraps for as long as they want to. Just like this whole thing with the Egyptians getting help from aliens called the Anunnaki, which is, I believe that, because we're talking about stuff that they was able to do that they shouldn't have been able to do because we didn't have the technology back then. We're talking about they were able to shape out big old boulders like blocks and turn them into pyramids, and the geometric shape of them is just perfect. Okay, and how were they able to pull it from one end of Egypt to the other with just a bunch of slaves? They tried to reenact it and they couldn't do it, so that means they had to have help. And then they made the very first airplane model ever before the Wright brothers made the first plane. Come on, people, let's think. The government is keeping the real history from us. Why? I don't know. Probably never find out. Maybe we'll find out when we meet God at them pearly gates. We'll find out the truth. Maybe, I don't know. But I'm not in a hurry to find it out because I don't want to die just yet. Yeah, it's not that serious. But anyway, I will be doing more videos on more ghostly experiences that I've had and more information on these mysterious disappearances in our national parks. So stay tuned. Look for my page. That is I Am Aloha, all capital letters. I Am Aloha on YouTube, and you'll find all my videos on ghostly experiences that I've had since I was a kid and what's going on with these national park disappearances. So always imparting, because I only got so much time left. Aloha, mahalo, and ahuiho. That means till we meet again. Peace.